All right, so next, moving on quickly to our next speakers. We have Prachi and Karthik. So Prachi Mukhija heads the marketing for Alexa in Amazon India, and Karthik is an Alexa solutions architect at Amazon. Prachi leads marketing, and in her role, she works with Indian developers, brands, and agencies to grow the voice tech ecosystem and to increase consumer engagement with Alexa by expanding the number of engaging voice experiences. Prachi joined Amazon in 2017 and has worked across product management and marketing functions. Before joining Amazon, she worked with Flipkart and Mahindra business development and strategy roles. She holds an MBA from the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade in Delhi. Karthik, in his current role in Amazon, is a solution architect for Alexa Skills Kit. He works closely with developers and helps them build their ideas for the voiced first revolution. He was recently part of the core team that launched Hindi for Alexa and believes localization will open up the power of voice computing and AI to the next billion users. Before working with Amazon, he worked with Double Lab, another voice first company, where he worked with enterprises and built engaging voice experiences for enterprises. He has 10 plus years of experience working with emerging tech and cloud technologies. When he's not coding, he likes to blog about his coding mishaps and usually live streams about it on his Twitch stream. Here to talk about how to get your skills discovered and drive customer engagement, we have Prachi and Karthik. Can we have a loud round of applause for Prachi and Karthik, please?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Prachi. I just got introduced. I lead marketing for Alexa Skills and Voice Services in India. And as part of my role, we look at developer outreach, developer marketing, consumer engagement. And if you're a device maker, if you're looking to integrate Alexa in your devices portfolio, then also reach out to us. Today, I'm going to be talking about how do we drive discovery and engagement, as well as a bit of retention for your Alexa skills. But let's quickly get a lay of the land. How many of you are developers here? I think most of you, so that's great. How many of you are Alexa developers? That's okay, that's encouraging. How many of you, all of you, have you published any skill? Is your skill live on the Alexa store, worldwide, anywhere? That's great. So you might get a lot more understanding of what we are trying to do here in terms of driving discoverability and engagement. Before that, because I want to keep the audience engaged just before lunch, we'll be doing a quick trivia. And we have the organizers who will be giving away something. So be active throughout the session because there are a few questions coming up. Let me start by the first question. How many skills do we have worldwide, Alexa skills? Okay, the lady in pink. Exact number? Yeah? Alright, does anyone know the exact number? 3 lakhs, wow. 1 lakh? 1,40,000, just between a lakh and a 40,000. Yeah? Yeah. It's okay, take a rough guess. Okay. Okay, who's, yeah? Yeah, roughly about that. So we have about 122K skills live on the Alexa store worldwide. Just reach out to the organizer later and for your review. How many skills are available in India? That's great. Who said 35,000? Yeah, that's the closest number, so thanks for that. What's the phrase that, what? Oh, we should have looked at that earlier. Okay, what's the phrase that, what's the skill that's probably the most popular in India according to you? Wow, did all of you read the Times of India, is it? Okay, yeah, Hanuman Chalisa is one of the most popular skills in India. So as we talked about the discovery issue, right, we have over 100,000 skills available worldwide, about 30,000 skills available just in India, and we have so many use cases that are already built through every day, like the gentleman said, and that obviously with more becomes, also brings us the discovery dilemma. How does a customer really discover the right skills that you guys are building? And we are going to leave you with a few tips and tricks of the trade in terms of how can you do those things to get your skills discovered, not just with a discovery boost or a marketing boost, but actually organically. And we're going to talk about the entire process of the skill life stage, which is how can you get your skills discovered, how can you get awareness of the skill, what tips can you sort of drive to get engagement and education of your skills, and then finally what do you do to get your customers back every time. So skills, all of us know, if for all of you who probably would not know, are voice apps, right? Any application that is provided in a voice world on Alexa-enabled device is a skill. And with that, once you start building your use case, once you start thinking about how to market your use case, it's really important to know the customer, right? So this is a typical customer profile in India. You have to start by understanding what is a customer doing at different timings in India, right? We usually see customers talking about meditation, such as Hanuman Chalisa, talking about them while saying good morning, listening to news, listening to podcasts, radio stations, etc., coming back and looking at probably some TV shows, some trivia, some games, homework help for their kids, some probably rhymes, etc. In the evening, it's when they talk about asking for a biryani recipe or some paneer recipe, looking at relaxing music, etc. And in the night, usually again going out with what's the traffic for tomorrow, making it more utilitarian. So this is how a typical customer profile is. Think about your use case before you really start talking about marketing and discovery. Think about what use case you have in mind that is going to become indispensable part of your user's life across his or her journey. So you have to really think customer backwards before you look at the use case. And once you have the right use case in mind, you have the right customer in mind, then we kind of talk about how do we market it at the next level. So few learnings we've had over the last couple of years of Alexa being there in India. All of us know we are a multi-household profile, right? A lot of family members, parents, all of us stay together, and each of them have a different profile. We usually see elderly probably talking a little more about devotion and meditation, young kids talking about animal sounds and just random trivia and games. The 25 to 35 age cohort usually talking about relaxing sounds, radio, etc., or maybe recipes, etc. So think about what generation or what customer cohort are you going to target in terms of reaching out to the use when you start building for the use case. We have one device, but we have many users in India. This is little different from what happens in the US and UK markets, right? Because in that case, your device is like your mobile application. It's very personalized. In India, voice assistants are not very personalized. They are across multilingual households. So think when you're creating that use case in mind. We also have one user and many devices. Now Alexa has expanded just beyond the Echo family of devices. Today you have Alexa on TV. Today you have Alexa on hearables, on Fitbits, and on so many other product device types. So you have to think, where is it that a customer that's using your skill, how can that customer actually use your skill across devices? Whether it's a multimodal device with a screen, whether it's a device without a screen, whether it's a device with just a headphone or earphone inside. Okay, who's going to tell me what's ABCD? No, you are not allowed. So ABCD is the new category, or sort of the new accumulation of categories that we see has emerged in India, where customers really use skills. Astrology, Bollywood, cricket, devotion, and edutainment. That's the new category that's come out. Customers really in this voice world, in this cluttered world with so many mobile apps, so many voice apps in market, are not just looking for education or not just looking for entertainment. They're looking at edutainment as where a voice assistant or voice can really help them learn something new, but in a more gamified or in a more interactive fashion. So astrology, Bollywood, cricket, devotion, and edutainment are the 5 main super categories I probably want to leave you with, where you can think use case backwards, think of a skill while building for Indian customers. Games and utilities, we constantly keep hearing from customers about how can they play a game, how can they interact more with a smart speaker, how can they really think beyond music. And so we just wanted to leave you with a few skills or a few use cases that have emerged in the past across these categories. Think about how these skills are built and what is it that these skills are providing for you to start looking at a use case or skill in India. And the most important thing is design your skill with voice in mind. It's very important for us. Greg also spoke about that we typically port a chatbot or a mobile app into a voice app. And both the systems are extremely difficult. In a mobile app, probably if you provide a long entry description, it doesn't matter because customers will just skim through the application or through that profile. But if you start speaking in a voice world with such a long description, then customers will just abrupt and will just abandon your experience. So think about the voice consumer in mind. Think about the trends where voice can be a simplifier for a customer. So for example, I keep iterating this example of a skill called Phone Genie, which simply lets you find the phone. Most of the times what happens is customers lose or misplace their phone, right? In our daily world that happens, right? You cannot find a mobile app to provide this experience, but you talk to your partner or you talk to your parent, you will just probably ask Alexa, can you find my phone? Where have I lost my phone? So think of those use cases where we can humanize Alexa in voice. Think of those use cases where you will interact, a customer will interact like he or she will interact with someone else in the household. So think of that human element in mind once you're building a skill. It's very important for a skill to obviously be novel, doing something different so that it stands out of the clutter. Make it repetitive. Do something around the skill once you're building a use case that lets a customer comes back. A very classic example is a simple skill in the US called Riddle of the Day. What it does, it plays a riddle, it gives you a riddle in the morning. In the evening only it tells you the answer, and it tells you, okay, this is where you are placed worldwide. I will only disclose the answer in the evening. The next morning there's another riddle. So it's almost like I'm habituating a customer deliberately to come back to the skill. Every time I'm coming back to the skill, it's probably giving me a little more information. So it's almost like habituate in the process by providing repetitive information that lets a customer come back. Make it topical. In the mobile world also, I think this happens, and this is very classical of any consumer, right? Typically around Diwali, you'll see a lot of Diwali requests coming in. People organically will start saying, can you play crackers? Can you tell me what's the Diwali special recipe? Can you do this for me, that for me? So if you are tapping the topical market right, your skill will organically see immediate discovery and marketing because you're building for the consumer in mind. So think of the topical cases in mind. If Pongal is coming, Diwali is coming, think of what use cases customers can start asking for in a voice world and start building for them proactively. And make it very natural. I think a lot of us emphasized during the day on how important it is for us to talk to a voice assistant in a more natural conversation, natural manner. So we'll take you through a lot of tips and tricks on how can you make the conversation more natural. But whenever you're creating a use case, whether you're providing help, whether you're providing any context, just try and make it so simplistic that it feels like Alexa is the human that you're talking to. So with that said, let's look at what are the discovery elements. Once you've figured out the customer in mind, once you've figured out the skill that you want to build in mind, your first experience, once you've done all the hard work, your first experience should be remembered, right, by a customer. And you probably will just get one chance and you have to make that right. So once you have the right use case, let's start looking at how can we provide discoverability to your skill. I think all of us are accustomed to the various mediums that we have in the overall world in terms of providing mobile as an interface, doing social ads, digital ads, email campaigns. If we have the monies, do a TV campaign, etc., create a landing page through web, even leverage print and packaging. So across the various levels, figure out your go-to-market plan. We usually call every product or every skill to have like a go-to-market plan. Once you've built a product or a skill, once you have the customer in mind, think of which channels are you going to work on. So for example, we commonly see that there's a skill that's built around kids, and there's probably no sense in just doing radio around that because maybe kids are not hearing it. So look at what channels for your skill based on the customer type that you have are going to work for you. We picked out a few examples which our developers have sort of leveraged. If you see, this is on the top right, it's a simple overlay, it's a simple banner about a skill called Violin Tuner, which was just explaining customers about how to use violin. And this developer just created a very simple campaign, just promoted it on LinkedIn, free social, etc. So just figure out those avenues wherever you see your customers and developers coming and start promoting and start talking once the skill is there. The two advantages of it once you give an initial discovery, right? Once you do an initial discovery, you get early ratings and reviews. What happens is you can iterate before we pick that skill up and go all out with discovery, because once we go all out and you get more number of users, and if your skill is not providing the right experience, then it has higher chances to fail, right? Because it will start getting negative reviews, etc. So do a small dipstick test with a smaller audience, take your different social channels, talk to fellow developers, talk to fellow customers, share it with your family members, say how is it that you are experiencing the skill, and then iterate it, and then go all out with various other channels. Another simple use case is, if you see on the bottom right, it's a developer who built StoryStream as a skill, and what they do is they send personalized email campaigns to every customer who started using the skill, because they're extracting some customer information, and it provides a help guide, step-by-step guide on what can you do, how do you start enabling, when do we do a monthly refresh of the skill, what content do we provide. So it's a great way of using CRM, customer relationship management channels such as email, push notifications, wherever you can get your hands on. And if you have some money or if you want to experiment, use social channels, talk to us where we can help you amplify discoverability of your skill through various social channels. We've also found a few developers creating very viral snack bite content on YouTube, just like a 1-minute video, what is it that your skill is doing. Do that, it's again free, share it with as many developers, as many users to get an initial buzz. And once you've done that, our system starts picking up these signals. Typically, for any machine learning system to start picking up signals, it's important for us to get those early metrics in the system, that this is the number of customers that the skill is already getting as part of the traction. These many are repeating users. This is the rating and review of a particular skill. And once those signals start coming in our system, our discovery boosting or our discovery enhancement start up. So how is it that Amazon really helps developers once you've done some groundwork and once you have built your marketing plan? How is it that Amazon really helps you? There are two elements where we provide boosted discovery through various channels, and then we also feed the system, the machine learning system, so that the system starts taking care of your skill organically and automatically. Now all of you are aware of the two pillars, right? One is voice user interface, which is VUI, and the other is graphical user interface. So anything which is happening in a graphical fashion, any marketing that's happening in a graphical world, could be through page, through emails, etc., is GUI, graphical user interface. And anything that's happening in the voice world, sometimes if you talk to Alexa, say, Alexa, good morning, and Alexa says, hey, today is Diwali, I have a Diwali game for you, do you want to try it? That's voice user interface. So we provide discoverability across both these channels, and we're going to be talking about it a little more. This is super important. I want to leave you a quick trivia that the first 30 days of a new customer is the most trivial, and what we have seen is if the customer gets habituated to any particular experience or your use case or your skill in the first 30 to 45 days, chances are that they will repeat. The chances of their repeat is much higher. So think about avenues, and the first time that the customer comes on after they buy an Echo device or any Alexa device is that they come on the Alexa Skill Store. Alexa Skill Store is like an app store that's hosted on Amazon India, and this is an opportunity for customers to see what kind of skills, what kind of 30,000 skills can customers get as part of this device that they have bought. There's also a companion app that's kind of mandatory for a customer, compulsory for a customer to download to connect their devices, to set up smart home, etc. And this is one of the first pages that they see. So this is where in the graphical world we provide discoverability through having a hero banner, picking up editors pick kind of skills, providing what kind of skills have come up in the mobile app, because that's the first ingress or entry point for a new user. On the Alexa app, like I said, topicality matters a lot. So suppose you already have a great Diwali cracker game which we figured out was built by a fellow developer, and we know that this is what customers are asking for, right? So we typically pick that skill up naturally, even without a developer's intervention, and we start promoting it. So on all Alexa apps, companion apps, Amazon In, we start giving a Diwali flavor around that time. So think about the topical use case, and this is how we provide discoverability on apps. We also run very small but targeted incentive campaigns, such as, hey, if you use 5 of these 30 skills, then you probably get a 100 rupee Amazon Pay balance, or you get Amazon Prime subscription or something like that. This is all run by Amazon, but the 30-40 skills are hand-curated, hand-picked. And those skills are, again, picked up through signals such as how much ratings and reviews, how many customers, what's the retention rate, etc., that your skill is seeing. So an initial discovery boost is a must for your systems to start working. This is the Amazon app. We do a lot of retargeting for your skills. So for example, if we have figured out that this gentleman is a young family professional having probably a young kid, and I know that animal sounds, Bollywood quizzes, Indian flute, because that cohort uses most of that skills, I will start showing this particular customer those kind of skills, so that their use cases that they're seeing are more relevant and more personalized. I don't know how many of you follow the Echo India and the Alexa India handles, but we do a lot of free social, paid social. We pick up very, very catchy skills every week. This is a skill a week that we pick up from our end and display it on social channels, paid, etc. We do a lot of PR. You might have seen a lot of press releases that Amazon hosts and Amazon run. And every time, I think the recent one was when we did something on Hanuman Chalisa, that every second a customer is using Hanuman Chalisa. So we try and showcase the skills that are built by developers through a lot of PR activities. And email is a very strong channel for us. We do 3 kind of email campaigns, and we provide that to developers for free. The first is an onboarding campaign, which is the first time a customer uses or buys an Alexa device. in the first week they get a campaign, they get an email saying welcome to the Alexa world. And like I said, the first 30 days are very crucial, so we handpick skills where we see traction and where we see relevance, and we share your skills as part of the onboarding campaign. The other is a weekly campaign which says what's new with Alexa. That means every week we sort of pick up the novel elements or the new things that are coming up or the skills that got updated, and we say, hey, these are the things that are new with Alexa in the Alexa world. And be cautious that this is not just the Alexa device or the Echo devices. These emails or this communication goes out to all customers having Fire TV, because now TV is Alexa enabled, all AVS devices. So the customer endpoints, the family of Alexa is large. So think of that when you're building the use case. And then finally, and the third one is retention emails. I want to talk about the retention email, which probably will come a little later, which is that suppose you're using, say, Choo Choo TV, which is a kids game, right? And you have categorized your skill under kids category, and probably it is showing Nani Teri Moni and older songs. Now what I'll do is the system, because your skill is picking up traction and I know that this customer is already using Choo Choo TV, I will start marrying, the system will start marrying the two skills and will start sending retention and organic emails to customers saying, because you have played Choo Choo TV, you would also like these 3-4 skills. Typical to an Amazon commerce world, right? Because you like a particular product, you will do this. Typically that's how we do in a skills world as well. And build for multimodal, that's very important, because we see that if a customer is also hearing your brand name as well as seeing your brand name, the overall recall that a customer has for your skill and for your use case is significantly higher. So this is how we sort of feature a few skills in a multimodal format. If you're using a TV, it could be a screensaver, which is Alexa enabled. It could be things to try. It could be in an Echo, if you're using an Echo Show, it could be that this is the featured skill of the day. So this is also how in a graphical world we provide discoverability to your skills. And like I said, once all of that is done from our end, once you have a GTM plan in place, the machine starts picking up and helps you retain the users and helps you engage more with your skills. So for example, if I come on the web next time, customers will see, like I said, customers have also enabled Choo Choo TV, Hindi dictation, etc. Because I know that this customer is already using kids skills, and so these are the other kids skills that are top in this category. Or I will probably say, okay, because 30 days later you use Art of Living, which is one skill. After 30 days, probably you've forgotten or you did not remember to use it again. So I'll send you an email recommendation which says, okay, open Art of Living, because this is what all you can do, and there are various other skills that you can do. So the system starts picking up a lot of things. In a multimodal world, in a device world, in a world which is having screens, this is how we start rendering skills organically through machine learning. So if I used rock, paper, scissors 2 days back, automatically the system will pick it up because it's a good skill, it's a solid skill, other customers are also using it, and I will start showing it on the screen organically by saying, do you want to play this again, because this is the last skill that you sort of used on. So this is all that's happening in the graphical world, right? The voice world is really different, and voice world is where we believe probably developers may not have a lot of control in terms of discovery. So I want to share a few things on what is it that we do from Amazon in the voice world. We run a lot of voice handover programs. What I mean by that is we sort of pick up to provide discoverability in the voice world. I think it's super important for us and for you to reach the developer or to reach the customer at the time of their usage of the device, right? So today, if I say good morning or if I say good evening, I know from the customer journey that customer is probably looking to hear relaxing sounds because he or she has just come back from office, right? If I show a paid social ad or if I show an ad in the afternoon, it doesn't make sense. So how do I tap a customer in the evening when the customer talks to the device and says good evening? That's where we run, say, a handover program. What we do is, say, this is a handshake program that I talk about, which is say, hey, good evening, probably you've just come back from home, do you want to hear an Indian flute sound? And the customer says yes, and the Indian flute sound starts, and the skill automatically gets enabled, and the customer remembers that, hey, there's an Indian flute sound that's already available. Next time I don't even have to remember it. Every time I come in the evening, I probably will just say open Indian flute or open Indian flute sound. So that's the handshake program that we provide, where we contextually pick up skills around topical times or where we see in the customer journey what skills will make sense for a customer. We also do an Amazon recommendation program on behalf of developers, which means, say, if a customer is already playing a particular type of skill or a use case, and I want to provide more such use cases to a customer, then I handshake both the skills, I ingest both the skills together. What that means is Today you are playing, say, Bollywood quiz because you like playing Bollywood quiz. It's a great skill, or you like playing Jeopardy or Akinator, etc. Once you are exiting the skill, right? Because as a customer, I've played it, and I say, okay, Alexa, bye, I'm done. I very subtly can ingest the content by saying, because you've played this, Amazon is also recommending you play Bollywood trivia. Do you want to try it? And because I know this is a customer who's a gamer, who's using the device, who's also playing games, the conversion of such handshakes are much, much higher. So this is how we help developers get a discovery boost for their skills in the voice world, provided you have built a solid use case. But the biggest challenge that we've learned over time is that voice is proactive, right? What I mean by that is customers will not really come back and every time end up saying that open Bollywood game that I played last time. Customers think of Alexa or voice assistants as humans, right? So they just end up talking to her as a friend. What they most likely say to Alexa, which are the common utterances that we see, is, Alexa, I'm just bored. Alexa, I'm home. Alexa, can we play a game? Alexa, help me relax. So this is where what we do is we test and rotate your skills across general utterances that customers say in their regular world. For example, I know that some great developer has built a Bollywood skill and the other one has built a quiz skill, and I want to provide discoverability to both of them. So what I'll do is I will ingest that content in a generic utterance under let's play a game, and I will give customers option to either play a game, either play Bollywood quiz or probably play a quiz, a trivia quiz. And I'll let customers choose. Once customers use that skill, the next time it becomes a default skill. The customer starts remembering that. So let me just show you a quick example of how that works.
Alexa, let's play a game.
Okay, I have a few skills for that. Would you like to try a possible Bollywood quiz?
No.
Do you want to give Akinator a try?
Yes.
You've disabled Akinator in the past. Do you want to enable it again?
Yes.
And then Akinator starts. So it's basically I've hand-created and hand-picked a few skills when a customer is coming to play a game. I've even told the customer that, hey, I think you probably disabled or weren't using Akinator in the past. Do you want to keep using it? So this is a retention strategy also, this is a re-engagement strategy also, and this is a discovery strategy also that we provide as part of this. And then when that has happened, what happens is that again, the system starts doing the hard work for all of us. What happens is, next time if I've forgotten about the skill as a customer, I'll probably just say, hey, what was my last used skill? The system will automatically pick up that this is a skill that this customer was liking and using, and so they will start playing that. It probably say, you last used India quiz, do you want me to reopen it? And you say just yes. So this is a concept called name-free invocation in Amazon, in the Alexa world, which means a customer now doesn't have to remember the name of the skill. Once they have liked the skill, once they have discovered the skill, once they have rated the skill, once all other customers have started using the skill, the system will remember the name for the customer, and you just have to say, okay, play the last used skill, and the system will do the hard work for you. This is very important, which I want to cover today probably as part of our tips and tricks. It's very important. A lot of time customers just end up saying, what are the kid skills you have? What are the kid use cases do you have? What are the games do you have? So it's very, very important for you once you are hosting your skill on Amazon to choose the right category, because what's happening is the system is picking up that category. It's seeing the skills that is there in that category. It is picking the top 5 skills from the category and it is giving that option to a customer. When a customer says, what are the gaming skills or the kid skills that you have? So think of the right categorization once you are doing it, and even if your skill doesn't have any initial traction, but if customer ends up saying, what are your new gaming skills? The system will see that this is a new skill that has just probably gotten published, so they will pick it up on your behalf. So I think we've talked about this, but these are the 7 pillars I want to leave you all with in terms of what is it that's really modeling the system, right? We talk about discoverability, engagement, retention, etc. If your skill has unique users, more number of users as well as unique users, if you have the right ratings and reviews that you started garnering for your skill, if your abandonment rate is low, which means I'm coming, but I probably in the first 10 seconds or 20 seconds say exit to a skill. That means I'm abandoning that skill. So your abandonment rate should be low because your entry point should be super solid. If your skill is in the right category, like we just spoke about, if your skill has recurring users, repeat number of users, if you have provided the right description, right metadata for your skill, which we'll talk about, and minutes of usage, these 7 pillars really model the system. So once you have got these things right, your skill will remain a long way across the world in driving more and more retention. So I'd like Karthik to join, and we want to leave you with 10 tips and tricks of the trade of the business on what is it that you can really do to get your skill discovered, organically engaged, retention, and retained over time.
Hello.
A lot of developers do not take this point very seriously, is what I feel. It's very, very important to have the right skill name, right? Once you've thought about a great use case, I as a customer, I am still living in a simple world where I need to know what is this use case doing to me. I probably will not be able to even try that use case unless I'm able to just understand as to what this skill does. So pick the right name for the skill, right? Name should set very clear expectations. Invocation name, which is the name which customers say to say open XYZ, should be very simple, easy to pronounce, and like I said, it should exactly describe what your skill is doing. Sorry. And your skill name should flow in a sentence. So for example, let me just share a few examples. What do you think the skill called Inspire Me do? What does it do according to you guys? Yeah, perfect. So you as a customer, you don't have to think through it. The moment you see a skill called Inspire Me, probably, you know that it's going to inspire me with some quotes, right? Or if I say riddle time, and the customer has, the developer has built a skill with the invocation name as riddle time, you know exactly what that skill is doing, right? It's just probably playing some trivia around riddles. But tell me, what does My Morning do? Daily routines, okay? Anything else? So look at the subjectivity around the skill, right? If I'm probably looking at weather as a use case, should I do that? If I'm looking at my daily setup, should I do that? Most of the time, customers get so confused about it and they will not use it. Or if I say a skill that's named trivia, I have no idea what kind of trivia is it going to provide, right? Is it animal trivia? Is it general knowledge? Is it common knowledge? So most of the time, customers will not even start using it. So your skill name is really your starting point. Think of how can you provide the right invocation name and the right skill name for a customer to understand that. Karthik, do you have technical recommendations?
So some of the technical recommendations that we have always seen when developers start to build skills, and there is a certification team here as well around. If you can just raise your hands, identify yourself, you can just go talk to them. But one of the things that we have continuously seen is people, when developers start to build skills and they know that, hey, I don't have designs, design sense, or rather I don't know how to design, so they just let the skill logo be empty, right? It's just like a blank skill logo, or they just upload any random image. You don't have to do that. Just in the developer console, when you're trying to submit your skill, there's a very handy link which says, okay, click here to build your own skill logo, and you can just click here, and it's a simple drag and drop thing, right? You can just use that and it just generates the logo for you, and you can just upload it back. Now this is very important because your skill looks really good when it has a logo, so just make sure you're doing that. Another thing we've seen this having an issue with our NLU system sometimes is to not use connecting words into your skill invocation name, right? Until and unless absolutely necessary, right? So say for example, you are a brand like say Ferns and Petals, right, and you need the word and, that's perfectly fine. But most of times don't use connecting words like from and to. The reason being, customers usually use connecting words to talk to Alexa. So sometimes people say, Alexa, ask Ola to book a ride, right? So the to book a ride is part of the NLU system inside Alexa, right? And you putting in connecting words into your invocation name sometimes confuses the NLU system. So just make sure you're not using that while you're doing that. And last but not the least, when you're building an invocation name, make sure that you're aiming to brand your skill. And this is one of the really good learnings that we have had in the past year. I worked on a skill called as Wild Planet, and you might have seen this ad where a kid says to Alexa, Alexa, how does a lion sound, right? And then you have the lion sound come up, right? And what happened, what we figured out was, when you say Alexa, ask for a lion sound, the lion sound comes up, and then the user interacts with the Wild Planet skill, right? Because that is the skill that we have earmarked for that editorial, right? And what happens generally is when they try to exit the skill, it says, okay, the Wild Planet skill. The next time you want to use the skill, just say Alexa, ask Wild Planet. And then we launched Hindi the next year. And surprisingly, so when we launched Hindi, Wild Planet was not yet launched on Hindi. And we saw a lot of customers coming into Hindi, right? They bought new devices, they connected to Hindi, and they started saying, Alexa, open Wild Planet to Hindi, right? Whereas it was not there. So what was happening is, there were people who were using the English version of Alexa, and they were very familiar with Wild Planet, and Wild Planet managed to create this brand for them, right? And that actually migrated to other versions of Alexa as well, other locales of Alexa as well. So whenever you choose an invocation name, make sure you are trying to brand yourself. That's it.
Got it. The second tip is that category and keywords are the key, and essentially these are the two things that are really modeling the system. Like I said, accurate category promotes machine learning to pick up whenever a customer is requesting for something. Like I said, if a customer is saying, what kids skills do you have? Most of the times in our search, we see that customers don't look at like Wild Planet. They look at kids skills. They search for kids skills. So if you have rightly categorized your skill, it will automatically pick up from the kids category and start giving that recommendation to a user. Most of the times in the voice world, we see what games do you have, customers saying what games do you have, or what quizzes do you have. So you have to ensure that you are again putting your skill in the right category for the system to pick it up. Keywords are again essential. I think all of you might have used keywords again in a mobile world if you've been a mobile app developer, right? But Amazon provides 60 keywords that you can provide as part of your skill metadata. Just a simple example, so there's a skill called Jungle Safari. Now probably I may not immediately recall as a customer as to what is the skill doing. Is it like a quiz, or is it a game, or is it something else around jungle? But the developer very clearly added the 4 main keywords around animal sounds, forest, kids, lion sounds, etc. So every time I'm searching as a customer animal sounds, and if this skill has a solid built up, it will start coming up because I have the right keywords in place. So pick those right keywords that should define your skill, put that in the system, and categorize your skill correctly. This is one example in the multimodal or in a device world where this is how customers actually discover skill. Like I said, what kid skills do you have is the first thing as a screen that comes out. And if this is what customer is seeing, this is the first time customer is interacting with the device once they have unboxed the device. And if your skill, even if it's an amazing skill, it is targeted to kids, but it is not categorized under kids category, then it will not see the light of the day in terms of discoverability. So think about the right categorization once you're picking it. Watch for your skill description and metadata. I think this is another area, this is another tip that we have personally learned is super important to fuel the system. So what we do is Amazon scans the description. If you've built skills, you will know that there's a short form description and there's a long form description, right? So Amazon really scans both the descriptions to improve the search ranking, to improve the discoverability ranking. You should use both of those descriptions whenever you're creating a product page or whenever you're taking your skill live. It's super important. Sometimes customers just end up asking, okay, what does this skill do? So what the system does it is actually picks up the one sentence description and it reads it loud for the customer. So whenever you're creating a description field or one shot description, remember how will that description be if it's spoken out loud to a customer, right? So think of that element once you're creating it, and must add a short description and a long description. Invocation phrase is very important. This is an invocation phrase that you see, say for example, Alexa ask TED Talks to play the latest talk. This is the first thing that customers see once they come in, right? They see a logo and they say, okay, exactly what is it? What is the phrase I need to speak to invoke the skill? So ensure that your invocation phrase is talking exactly about what your skill does. So for example, if your first invocation phrase, like I said, is open Jungle Safari, customer may not know. But if your first invocation phrase is ask Jungle Safari to play a lion sound, immediately as a customer I know exactly what is the skill doing, right? And I have higher chances as a customer to use that skill. So use your first invocation phrase, default invocation phrase very intelligently. This is one of the classiest reasons we have seen why a lot of skills stop getting used. They got a great discoverability, but they got a great engagement in the first few months, but now they are not having recurring users. So I leave an example, I put an example there, right? Imagine you go to office every day you talk to a person and say good morning, and every day the person says back, good morning, have a great day. Every day if this happens, would you not stop conversing with that person eventually over time, right? So think of Alexa as a human again, like we keep saying. and build variety to your experiences. Today, if I'm coming back to you, or today if I'm using your skill, you may say, hey, it's a great day, congratulations, thank you for using my skill, now let's get started. If I'm a recurring user, you should think of it differently. If I'm coming back again, probably build a different variety in your skill. This is one of the most common anti-patterns, right? If you are playing an animal game, it's a solid use case, the developer has built a great skill. But every time it says, okay, what can I do for you? Okay, what can I help you with? Okay, what can I do for you? Eventually, as a customer, you will start wearing down and you will stop using the skill even though it has all the right elements. So build variety. Whenever you're doing a reprompt, just bring some more flavor to your reprompts by saying, what can I do for you? Hey, today it's a great day. What else can I do for you? Think about building variety and think about how you converse in a natural world when you're providing these use cases.
Right. So that's where I jump in, and this is very important to highlight because I test a lot of skills, and when I'm doing that, I've seen a lot of developers use a lot of words. They don't use a different array of responses, and that makes my work hard because Alexa keeps on saying the same thing again and again, and that just irritates me. So I just wanted to make this point. So one of the things that you should do is have a local array in your responses, right, or a database of arrays, and it could be something like, instead of good morning, it could be like hola or some other types of greetings. Have an array of that and then randomly recycle through them while presenting that response. And what happens due to that is, every time people come to the skill, they just feel that, okay, there is some new fresh content that is being updated here. Right? And one of the things that also happens is there's something called as a reprompt method. Now what reprompt does is, so for example, let's say you built a skill which tells you about any state in India, right? And the way it starts it says something like, hey, you can ask me about any state in India, right? And sometimes the user might say something that is intelligible, as in Alexa does not understand it, in which case it goes to something called as a reprompt. And most of the times developers, what they do is they put in the same.
The fifth trick of the system is peer test utterances. Add a lot of utterances. For every intent that you build, right, for all those who built a skill, you add a lot of utterances, right? One of the classiest examples that we see is that customers in India say probably my marks are poor, right, because that's the scoring. In the EU, they say my score is poor. In the US, they say my grades are poor, right? Now, if you're building for worldwide, right, you have to add all the utterances, think of all the formats and fashion that a speaker will speak, that a customer will speak in various language formats. Look at all different speaking styles, and that's why we say just do a peer testing. In Amazon, what we do is we sometimes pick a skill, provide it as part of beta testing to 100 set of customers, and we start taking what kind of utterances are they speaking, and those utterances that we start putting back in our skill, so that the skill becomes more solid in understanding those utterances. So add more and more utterances. Keep looking at utterance history. There's a section called utterance history in your skill, where you see what kind of utterances are failing, what kind of utterances are customers talking about. Keep adding them back, so that your skill becomes more solid in the way. And skills, look at skill or Alexa like a human, right? Like we keep learning. The more utterances you add, and the next time if a customer sees that this skill is addressing better, the more is their re-engagement and retention rate. So that's a super important thing for you, to keep adding more and more utterances and keep adding variety to that utterances.
Right. And one of the things like Prachi mentioned is, when people interact with your skill, they are going to say something totally random, okay? And when they say totally random, what you could do is, in your developer console, there is a section called as intent history. You have to go to that page, and what we do here is, if there is something the user has said and it is not in your interaction model, and a lot of users, and I think the benchmark for that is around 10 users or something like that. So if 10 users say, let's say for example you made an animal sound skill, right, and this is how we improved the animal sound skill. We found that we had created lion, okay, and we had created some synonyms for lion like sher and everything. And what was happening is, a lot of kids were coming to the skill and they were saying Sher Khan, right, and the NLU was not picking it up because it did not know what Sher Khan meant, right? But typically what happens is Sher Khan, so here in the utterance you will get something like Sher Khan, and it will tell you what the system thought about it. And if 10 to 15 people say that, okay, Sher Khan, what you can do is you can just map it up. In the last section you have a map option, and you can keep that map to one of your intents or your synonym slots and just make sure that it is handled properly. If you keep on doing this on a regular basis, people who are coming into your skill, they keep on, the skill becomes slightly better. Now sometimes people might also, and this is the experience we have, is sometimes people come into your skills and they say something like, Alexa, play Baby Shark music. Okay, sometimes they are inside the skill sandbox, they are inside the skill, and they say something that is not your functionality of the skill at all. In that case, have something called as fallback intent. We have an intent called as Amazon.fallback intent, which basically whatever utterances do not map to your interaction, they come to the fallback intent. So just keep a fallback intent and keep the response short, which says something like, sorry, the Wild Planet skill cannot help you with that, and just exits. So that way, if the users are saying something totally random, they get the appropriate response that this skill cannot do it, and it exits.
Perfect. Help and info. This is the sixth tip and trick where the system fails and system picks up. A lot of times we are providing help when customer says, okay, help me with the skill, right? And we're providing also a lot of information as part of the customer journey. Provide the right amount of help, the right amount of information at the right time. If you look at this example, I probably as a customer said, okay, open Astrology Daily about my horoscope, and I can just be very simple and concise in providing the right information, saying horoscope for which sign do you need. Or the other ways, I can say there are 12 zodiac signs that I can give you a horoscope for, etc. Maybe the first time I'm okay with it as a customer, right? But the next time if I come in again, I say, okay, just give me a horoscope for the day, and I again give that entire information saga, you will lose that customer. Even if you have the right experience built inside your skill, the amount of help that you're providing, the amount of information that you're providing is super critical. So think of what we call as, think of having a one breath rule. If you cannot speak the sentence that you're providing as part of help in one breath, then you should not write that, because the customer can only abstract that much information that they can in a spoken word that is probably that comes in one breath. So think of a one breath rule when you're providing help, information, etc. And provide contextual help, right? So for example, I've played 5 quizzes or I've played 5 questions. Now at the 6th step I need some help. And if I say Alexa help, and it gives me the starting help saying this is what you can do with the skill, it's absolutely irrelevant, right? So you have to pick up the right area, provide the contextual help, and keep it short and simple. Content refresh is the key, and that changes a lot of things from a machine learning standpoint. What we mean by content refresh is, if you have a skill that has a lot of content, it could have rhymes, it could have trivia, it could have riddles, etc. We suggest every 15 to 30 days, keep refreshing the content, keep building the content, because what happens is on the system also, if you see on the right hand side, if a customer is using the app and the first time they enter the app, the first thing that they use is that these many skills got updated, right? So it's a natural rediscovery for your skill once you have updated the content. And what we've seen is, the more content refreshes happen, the more leaderboards that you can provide. You can provide some games that, hey, come back every Monday of the first Monday of the month, and I'll probably play a leaderboard for you. So find those hooks where you can not just keep refreshing content, but also giving them hooks to come back at one day or at one time. I think Greg also told about having multiple languages, which is super important. In a multilingual household, customers just do not speak in Hindi, they do not speak in English, they speak in English, right? So ensure that your languages, that you have more number of language models once you are doing a content refresh. Ensure that if you've built a skill in English, it is available in Hindi as well, or it is available in other languages as well. So it is catering, it is not never failing. So that gives you a discovery boost for your skills, etc. This is one simple classic example of the Wild Planet skill that we were talking about, where the developers was providing all the right animal sounds, right? Amazing animal sounds, high quality animal sounds. And then they got to realize that there's been some dipping that probably is happening, because a customer is getting the same information and the information is stale. What they did was, in the multimodal world, they just said, okay, they just added a little more trivia, that hey, did you know this is what's happening, what's the trivia about the line, and this is a scientific name. So they tried and made it more educational, more conversational, more interactive. And think about these avenues on how do you do a content refresh which provides education, entertainment, everything together to your skills. How many of you know SSML, what SSML is? This is another quiz. Greg is not allowed. Okay, oh no. How many of you know what SSML is? Okay. Close. Awesome. So collect your award outside. So speech cons, right? In Amazon, we provide speech cons, the special phrases that let Alexa be more expressive, right? We can say balle balle, we can say hey, we can say hola, so we provide some special phrases and speech keywords that helps Alexa be more expressive. And so use speech synthesis markup language and these speech cons while you're creating your skill to provide a more natural conversation. The SSML language that we're talking about helps you actually intonate your responses differently. It helps you change the tonality. It helps you provide expression. It does a lot of things. So play around with that a lot rather than just giving a simple example. But overdoing is bad. So imagine you're playing a great trivia game, which is a great quiz game. Do we have time? Sorry. We have a great quiz game, and after every quiz, after every right question, you say, hey, this is great, amazing, you're a rock star. Second question I again say, hey, this is great, you're a rock star. Somewhere you will start losing, like you will find this unnatural, right? It's an unnatural conversation. So ensure that the expressions that you're using are moderately used, not overdone, and use them wisely in the entire experience. Let us share a few examples.
I already told you, I really like making skills for Alexa.
So this was a normal conversation, right? So Alexa said, I already told you I like making skills for Alexa.
I already told you, I really like making skills for Alexa.
So did you see some difference? Exactly. So she really likes it, right? So that's why this is how you could use SSML and speech cons to provide more depth and more conversational experience.
Here's a surprise you did not expect.
I want to tell you a secret.
Your secret is safe with me. I am not a real human.
But I'm getting there. Can you believe it?
Can you believe what that was? Exactly. It's Amazon Polly. So we provide multiple sound voices through Amazon Polly. Do not just get restricted in your experience to using the conventional Alexa speech language. Use Amazon Polly. Use different voices. Try and make it natural. Try and make it conversational once you're creating your experiences. And use account linking cautiously. Account linking is a feature where a customer has to, before starting a skill, they have to really put their email ID, etc., before they can even try their skill, right? And in our experience, we've noticed about 70% of customers fail before even trying their skill. So your first entry point, if it is by asking a customer to do account linking, to do these 10 steps, then you're consciously adding friction to your skill, right? So in the regular commerce world, we say there's a freemium model, right? Which is like, first you let the customer try for free, and then you offer anything in terms of account linking later. Let the customers use your skill without account linking, and once you see repeating customers that are coming back and forth, you can always say that, hey, I would want to keep you updated with what is coming, and for that I need your email information. So this is the account, so can you account link? So let the customer first get habituated to you, to your skill. Do not use friction points at the starting point of the skill, because the first time if your customer, you lose a customer, then it's unlikely that the customer will come back. And there's customer profile API, which is a subtler form of getting customer information that you should use instead of just having account linking in place. And last but not the least, this is how we started. Keep spreading the word. If you make a content refresh, if you do something different, spread the word back into your community, because the more amplification that you are doing, the more signals we are getting in our system, the more likely it is for your skill to get picked up for Amazon marketing, for Amazon discovery and Amazon engagement programs. Look at Alexa community groups. This is something we've found out where we have a lot of Facebook and LinkedIn active community groups. Developers keep sharing their skills. They get developer understanding. They get customer understanding. So whenever you make a change, before going all loud with marketing, just keep peer testing it. Use Alexa badges. Use the Alexa logo wherever you can, because it helps you improve search engine marketing, search engine optimization. So use badges if you're creating a landing page. Send review requests if you've got customer profile API and you've got some information about customers. Send email campaigns, review requests, etc. And these are the, before we sum up, did we overshoot?
Yeah, I think we have.
Okay. These are 5 tech cheat sheet points we want to leave you with on how can you get the right engagement for your skill.
Right. So I just wanted to tell you, maybe you can take a picture of this, but before you actually once you publish your skill and you're all going ahead with your go-to-market plan, look at these 5 things as a checklist kind of thing, right? The very first thing that we have seen is the latency, and now we have in the developer console there is a tab called as latency, which tells you how much time does it take to reach the customer, right? And when you create an Alexa skill using the CLI, most of the times what happens is your Lambda function, it gets added into the US East 1 region of AWS. For India, if you are serving India, it's best to have it in Ireland, which is EU West 1, I guess, if I'm not wrong with that. So just make sure you have a good latency. What should be a good latency? Your users should be able to reach your endpoint within 500 milliseconds of the request. So that's like 0.5 is what you should look at. Another thing that we always face is, hey, we really like a skill and we want to promote it, but sometimes there's a downtime with the Lambda function. Maybe the Lambda function has some errors or some issues like that. Just make sure whenever there's an error, you get notified through some APIs or into your Slack channel. In fact, with Wild Planet, we did this where what happens is every time someone says to Alexa and there's like a huge error happening, it starts pinging us in their Slack channel that they have created. So just make sure that. We talked about multiple language models. Yes, when you publish your skill, just make sure at least the English ones are covered: English, UK, US, India, Australia, and all those things. Failure paths, this happens a lot when people are interacting with your skill. Try and test the failure path for your skills, right? And the way you test this out is by opening the skill and saying something totally random to break it out, right? If you have some QA friends or you have some enemies you hate, just go and give them the QA part, right? They will do the quality analysis for you, and you can come back and improve that in your skill. The last but not the least, the fourth one is to use fallback intent, right? If people say something random, just make sure you say that, hey, I cannot do that, tata, bye bye. Last but not the least, and this is very important, most of the times when you have built a skill and published it, and then you find that, hey, maybe there's an issue here, or maybe the question is wrong, or maybe the prompt is wrong, or there's a spelling mistake, try and get as much as your Alexa responses on your backend Lambda function, right? Because if something goes wrong, you can totally update it then and there itself, and you can just deploy to Lambda within a few seconds. But if it's something on your Alexa skills interaction model, you have to change it, you have to submit it for certification, and then the certification team tests it out, and then it goes live, right? So make sure that your code is modular, and most of that is being handed on the back end so that you can just make an update and it goes live as soon as possible.
Awesome. So in summary, we want your skill to do the following things, and we want us to collaborate better in terms of driving more discovery and engagement. Do one thing really well. Keep it simple. That's what Michelle also harped about. Do not try and do a lot of things. Just do one thing in your skill that's really well. Solve a real life problem with voice and not just port an app world into voice world. Set clear expectations, use the right help, use the right information, set clear expectations on your product page on what is it that the skill should be doing. Pass the one breath test. I don't know if I'm doing that right now because I'm going very fast, but pass the one breath test before you're putting help text or you're putting any information text. Keep it pleasurable. Make it a pleasure to interact with. Use SSML, use variety, make your skill interaction more conversational. Let it learn over time, keep adding more utterances, ensure that you're trying to show that your skill is smart, right? So it's learning over time. Deliver fresh content, keep it updated, leaderboards, etc. Minimize friction, do not use account linking, try and minimize all friction points which you see. Have a simple and memorable skill name and invocation name, like we say, and be reliable, do all the tech payload testing, etc. Ensure that you have the right endpoints, you have the right latency in place, because all of these are triggering the system very well.
Yeah, I think we missed.
So that's about it. I think we want to work together. Let's try and build and innovate, keep innovating. We want all developers, builders to do that. Market for velocity in the initial few days, garner reviews, talk to your developer friends. Like he said, talk to your enemies, get more and more reviews, analyze, iterate, drive initial usage, partner with us, we will drive the initial usage for you, get discovered organically, let the machine do the talking for you. So let's try this. Do this flywheel, build this flywheel together. Thank you. Reach out to us as Alexa Skills In. Reach out to us. The marketing team is all here if you have any questions, and thank you so much.